Hi friends, welcome to Tutorials Point. My name is Richa and in this module on aviation, I'm going to take you through 20 modules which will give you an overview of what the aviation industry looks like. So if you want to become a cabin crew, get to know all about aviation in terms of what is the role and responsibility of a cabin crew member, how does the flight deck crew function, what are different kind of emergencies you might have to undergo. All of these will be taught to you in this aviation module. So let's start with our agenda today on aviation or introduction to aviation. Well, we will talk about the aviation history and how it has moved from decade to another decade. Airport operators as well as regulators. We'll talk about certain compliance requirements or certain SOPs or standard operating procedures with regards to aviation. Well, really I'm excited to teach you friends on this particular module on Introduction to Aviation. Well, if we have to define what aviation is a huge space and it is so humongous. There are so many things to learn about aviation, and today in this particular module, we will talk about how aviation was started and when it came into being. Well, aircrafts have been around for more than a century, but aviation has been around for more than 2000 years, and that's not a small thing. So it has been around for a long period of time. Leonardo da Vinci made many model aircrafts, but they didn't really fly. The reason being that he introduced lighter than air aircrafts. Well, what happened after that? Let's see. Well, the first plane was brought in, or rather was made by the Wright Flyer brothers. There were two brothers who were the Wright brothers, and they made the first aircraft to be launched. They were known as Wilbur and Orville. They are the Wilbur brothers. The first successful heavier than air aircraft was made, and it was known as the Wright Flyer. The first flight was on December 17th, 1903. After the Wright brothers' first flight, there was an aviation boom. The entire aviation sector really picked up after this particular time. Modern day aircraft giants are Airbuses as well as Boeing. Now these are used across the country, across the international airlines. They only use Airbuses as well as Boeings. Well friends, I'm going to teach you certain international airports codes which was given. Well, Bangkok is known as BKK, Los Angeles is LAX, New York is known as JFK, Singapore is known as SIN, and so on and so forth. Most of the countries all over the world have airport codes assigned to them, for the simple reason being that they need to know, or rather the air traffic controller as well as passenger needs to know which airline or which destination they are going to be headed to. So there are these short forms given to them by IATA. Looking at further, certain airlines also have IATA codes assigned to them. The reason why codes are being assigned to airlines is for the simple reason that whenever a particular passenger is traveling by, for example, Indigo Airlines or Jet Airways or any other airline, they need to have a short form or a code with which a passenger can identify his particular airline. So let's take a quick look. Singapore Airlines is known as SQ, that is the code given to them. Malaysian Airlines is known as MH. Emirates, which is a very world famous Dubai aircraft, is known as EK. Qantas or British Airways is known as QF or BA. Well friends, these are different kind of terminologies or codes given to airlines all over the world. Well friends, let's look at what the aviation industry looks like. Describing as the building and flying of aircrafts, and it has two sectors or two segments under aviation. One is military and one is civil. Well, under military, as the name suggests or shows, this is used by the airlines for military purposes or the nation's air force only, and it is not used for commercial purpose. Well, the civil is divided into two parts, domestic airlines as well as international airlines. These are to be used commercially from one place to another. Well, domestic airlines are flights which operate within the same country. Therein they have to take off as well as land within that particular country. For example, take off and land within India, Malaysia, USA, Australia, etc. Coming to international airlines, these are flights which starts from one country and it ends into another country, right, from India to Australia, India to Hong Kong, etc. So this, my friends, is a two segment of the aviation industry. Well friends, we are going to talk next about the airlines regulatory bodies. As you can see here on the slide, we have Federal Aviation Administration, which is FAA, and we have IATA, which is International Air Transport Association. Well, these are two governing bodies which are the whole and soul of the aviation industry. Let's look at what their work involves. So FAA revolves around controlling the operations of the aircraft, licensing the pilots, inspecting the aircrafts, as well as maintaining the overseas whole and soul maintenance of the aircraft. Whereas IATA has a responsibility of association made up of most of the world's airline. It sets the standards and records for civil aviation. So these are two regulatory bodies of the airline industry. Looking at air services and certain routes, well, we have scheduled flights as well as chartered flights. Scheduled flights are those flights which have a certain time of departure and arrival which shows onto the board at the airport, and these are specifically commercial aircrafts. Chartered flight are not having any kind of time of departure or arrival because these chartered flights are used by ministries, government officials, VIPs and VVIPs of certain industries. Hence, they do not have a fixed schedule. They depart and arrive according to their own convenience and timings. Looking at the different kind of flights or types of flights as well as the journeys, we have direct flights as well as connection flights. Direct flights are flights from origin to destination with one or more intermediate stops. However, the passenger does not come out of the aircraft because the same aircraft goes to the forward destination. Whereas in a connecting flight, passengers have to change the aircraft at that particular stop. So they need to come out of the aircraft and check in again into another aircraft. Well friends, that brings us to a conclusion on Introduction to Aviation. We did speak about the history of aviation and how it started, as well as certain IATA codes as well as airlines and how they are known. We hope you have enjoyed listening to this particular module. Keep watching, more videos coming your way.